Imagine it's the dead of night. The only sounds are the rustling of leaves and your heartbeat pounding in your ears. You're alone, moving quietly, hoping no one will find you. This isn't just a journey. This is a matter of life and death. For thousands of enslaved African Americans, this was their reality as they followed the Underground Railroad, their secret path to freedom. But what was the Underground Railroad? And how did this secret network help so many escape the chains of slavery? Today, we're diving into the incredible story of bravery, sacrifice, and the fight for freedom. Slavery in the United States was brutal. Enslaved people were forced to work under inhumane conditions, treated as property, and often torn from their families. But amidst the cruelty and oppression, hope lived on. And that hope came in the form of a covert network known as the Underground Railroad. Now let's clear something up. It wasn't an actual railroad. There were no tracks, no trains, and no conductors in the traditional sense. The term Underground Railroad was a metaphor, a way to describe the secret routes and safe houses used by freedom seekers to reach the North, and ultimately, freedom. Think of it like this. You're trying to get from one place to another without being caught. Imagine needing to travel across the country without using your phone, credit card, or any form of ID. You can't leave a trace. The people helping you are like your GPS, guiding you through secret roads and back alleys. Only in the case of the Underground Railroad, those guides were risking their lives right alongside you. The stations or safe houses were homes, barns, or churches where enslaved people could hide during the day. And the conductors were the brave individuals, black and white, who helped them along the way. They risked everything, knowing that if they were caught, the consequences could be fatal. Perhaps the most famous conductor of them all was Harriet Tubman. Born into slavery in Maryland, she escaped in 1849. But that wasn't the end of her journey. It was only the beginning. Now imagine this. After escaping to freedom, Harriet could have stayed in the North, safe from harm. But instead, she chose to return, again and again. In fact, over the course of 10 years, Harriet Tubman made 13 trips back to the South, helping over 70 people escape to freedom. She became known as Moses, leading her people to the Promised Land. And Harriet wasn't just brave, she was strategic. She used the stars to navigate, traveled at night, and often led groups through treacherous terrain like swamps and forests to avoid detection. At one point, she even carried a pistol, not to fight off slave catchers, but to discourage anyone in her group from turning back. The Underground Railroad stretched from the Deep South all the way to Canada. Some sought freedom in northern states, while others went even further, crossing the border into Canada, where slavery was outlawed. The journey was long, dangerous, and filled with uncertainty. But for many, the possibility of freedom was worth every risk. Slave owners were determined to catch those who escaped. They posted rewards, hired slave catchers, and relied on the infamous Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, which required even northern states to return runaway slaves. This law made the Underground Railroad even more dangerous, as freedom seekers were no longer safe in the North. They had to go even further. And yet, despite the risks, the Underground Railroad thrived. Historians estimate that between 40,000 to 100,000 enslaved people escaped to freedom through the Underground Railroad by the time slavery was abolished in 1865. But it wasn't just about escaping, it was about defiance, about refusing to accept the shackles of slavery and taking control of your own destiny. The Underground Railroad was powered by community. It wasn't just the conductors and safe house owners who made it work. It was also free black communities in the North, abolitionists, and even sympathetic Southerners who believed in the cause of freedom. Figures like William Still, John Brown, and Frederick Douglass all played critical roles. William Still, for example, was a key organizer in Philadelphia who documented the stories of hundreds of freedom seekers, preserving their histories for future generations. But the Underground Railroad wasn't just a story of escape. It was a story of resilience, hope, and the unyielding human desire for freedom. It was a powerful act of resistance against a brutal system, and those who risked their lives, whether enslaved or free, remind us of the extraordinary courage it takes to fight for what's right. Today, we honor the legacy of the Underground Railroad with monuments, museums, and historical sites that preserve the memory of this extraordinary network. but its true legacy lives on in the fight for justice, equality, and freedom that continues to this day. The Underground Railroad may be a story from the 1800s, but its lessons are timeless. It's a reminder that when people stand together, even against the greatest odds, they can change the course of history. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more stories about history's hidden heroes. And remember, the path to freedom is paved by those who dare to walk it.